It is the Tuesday, like, I seriously woke up this morning thinking this has been the longest week, and then I realized it's only Tuesday. I just silently wept. Okay. Oh, I was doing this game with the ones. We can play this game. You'll enjoy this. We're just gonna play what declension is it? Are you ready? Okay, you ready? Alrighty. What declension is it?
It's first.
First.
Well,
good.
that was my, okay.
What declension is it?
Third.
Third. Good. You like this?
Mm-hmm. Can you just copy everyone else? So.
What declension? First. Very
Oh,
good.
what's it looking?
What declension?
Second.
Second.
Yeah.
Remendi. Yes, because of that I right there. Second. Yes? Alrighty, next. Ophidium.
Second.
Second. Last one. Ah! This will be the last one. Walnus vulnerus. Third. Us eris neuter third. There are some that do that.
I need practice. Like, I recognize them, but I don't remember, like, all of them. I struggle sometimes.
4 and 5 are a little iffy for me. I got the rest of them okay.
I'm gonna be honest, 4 and 5 are iffy for me. Like, I can recognize whenever I see the dictionary entry, but here's the secret. You can fake your way through 4 and 5 if you know 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, but iffy is different from us. But for me,
No, but here's the thing. If you know 1, 2, and 3 really, really well, like you should, you can fake your way through 4 and 5 because it basically looks like a combo of the other 3. Does that make sense? I was telling the twos the same thing with the relative pronouns. Like, even if you don't have your relative pronoun chart memorized, which none of them do yet, right? You should still be able to recognize that quim is accusative singular. Right? Because that looks like third declension accusative singular. You should still be able to recognize that quos is accusative plural and quas is accusative plural. You should still be able to recognize that quibus are dative and ablative because that's what they look like in third, right? So qui quod is like 1, 2, and 3 got together and had a baby. Not quite sure how that works with 3 people. It's grammar magic. But yeah, it is the confusing offspring of 3 different declensions. Okay? So that's just kind of a little like, instead of thinking of it as, I have to memorize all of this, no, you've already memorized all the pieces. Now you have to think critically. Yeah? Okay, what was I doing? I was getting to the Caesar stuff. What are we on? 42? 41? 41. Yes? Okay. Goodness gracious, it's already big. Yeah, that doesn't always happen. It's confusing how sometimes it copies one way and not. It's just very strange. Okay. So, there are not nearly as many notes for 41 as there were for 40. Yesterday's, I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, really? Like, if there has to be that many little asides, like, make sure you point out this for the kids, then maybe we shouldn't be teaching that chapter. Just fine. This one only has 1, though. Okay, it's hoc animo, and they want you to see that it's enclosing word order. So basically, Latin likes to make word sandwiches. Yes? Okay? So, like, you have the bread. Oh yeah, my pen isn't working today. I forgot that. I was going to close it down and restart it. In fact, let's do that while we're waiting. So, I'm sorry, guys. I can't function without my pen today. It's just not gonna happen. So when it says by enclosing word order, it's just basically, we saw a bunch of that yesterday. Like you have an ablative phrase and a bunch of stuff that kind of goes with that ablative phrase. You're gonna have ablative bread, stuff that goes with the ablative phrase, filling for your sandwich, other piece of ablative bread. Does everybody get the metaphor? Amani, you're kind of looking at me like, no. No, it doesn't. You need to see it? I'll show it to you. Do you need to see it? Yes? Okay. As soon as it comes back up, I will show it to you. But meanwhile, while we're waiting for this to boot back up, 41. Let's go through some initial exploration questions. Remember, these are just summary questions. Number 1, who wanted to speak to Cicero? The duces and the principes of the Nervii. Yes? So that's what I would, yes? Yeah, they're the subjects. So the leaders and the chiefs of the Nervii wanted to talk to Caesar. Number 2, what were the first, let me make sure, I've got it. I've got a cheat sheet. The teacher's edition has the okay? Yes, we are correct. Look at us, smart people. The leaders of the Nervii who believed Cicero would agree to see them if asked for an interview. All right, number 2. What were the first 3 things that they mentioned? So you're looking for things that looks like kind of a list of 3. The good news is Caesar is gonna do that, right? He's very methodical. So you see the sentence facta potestate eadem quae ambiorix cum tutorio egerat commemorant omnem esse in armis Galliam Germanus regnum transisse Caesaris reliquorum quae haberna opugnari. Can we all agree those are the 3 things that they said to him? Yes? Even if you can't tell me exactly what those things mean, can you recognize that those are the 3 things that they said?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. As to what they mean, anyone want to tell us? Omnem esse and armis Galliam. Notice this is all indirect statement because it's all the things that they commemorant. Yes? Okay. So they said that all Gaul was up in arms. Yes? Germanus regnum transisse, the Germans had crossed the Rhine. Everybody see transisse? Yes? So that's going to be like, you could say have. All the Germans have crossed the Rhine. Sorry, I'm checking my main verb to see if we're going to do had or have. So if it's a past tense verb, we'll do had for the perfect, and if it's a present tense verb, then we'll do have. Okay? And then the last one, Caesaris reliquorum haberno opugnari, and they said that the other camps of Caesar were being attacked. Okay.
Yeah, that was part of the section he kind of skipped.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Gross. What a jerk. Okay, so, but it is indirect statement. So you got, let's go through, indirect statement means you're going to have lots of infinitives. Yes? Okay, so in the phrase, omnem esse in armis Galliam, where is my infinitive? Esse. Esse, very good. And so where's the subject of that infinitive? Because we're an indirect statement. Yeah, omnem Galliam. Remember, it's going to be accusative, yes? Because for indirect statement, you're looking for the accusative subject of the infinitive. Everyone okay? Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? Ellie, you okay? Imani, you okay?
Yeah.
Oh. Not really? You want to come sit closer so I can point to things? Okay. So, Imani, where's the breakdown? I'm not trying to call you out. I'm just trying to figure out while I'm getting this stuff set up, is there something I can explain better? Do you know what I mean by indirect statement? So indirect statement are like statements that if we were in a screenplay, they would be in quotes. But we're not in a screenplay. So we can make it not in quotes because we're reading, right? So it's what they said, or here's the tricky part about indirect statement. It can be triggered by any verb that happens in your head or your heart. Okay, so hope, believe, feel, think, say, ask. Not so much ask, that's going to trigger something else because it's a question, right? But pretty much anything that happens inside your head or your heart is going to trigger indirect statement. An indirect statement is just, remember the Romans didn't have punctuation. They didn't have quotation marks. They didn't have commas. They didn't have periods. They didn't have anything. They didn't even have spaces between their words for a very, very long time, right? So the way they let you know that you heard that someone said this is indirect statement. In fact, let's do a quick little exercise for this. I think I got this. Okay? All right. Ellie, say something.
What?
Okay. So we have, oh, please let my head work now. You're still not working? No, it always works whenever I turn it off and on. Okay, we're gonna try the next best thing. So we have,
Did something like happen to it?
I don't know, it just stopped working all of a sudden. It does that sometimes. Okay, so we're gonna type then. Okay, so we have Ellie, oh my god, Ellie, I or Y-E? I-E or Y? Ellie, I'm gonna Y.
L-L-Y.
I knew that. Don't make fun of my early onset dementia. Okay. So it is a disability and you can't make fun of it. Okay. So Ellie says hi. Yes? Okay, so that's direct statement. Are we good? Yes? Okay. So indirect statement would be Ellie says hi. Yes? Okay? So, I'm going to make it a little bit more complicated. Allison, say something that has a direct object.
Just say
Dog played with the ball.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright? Ellie says the dog plays with the ball. No, that's okay.
say something an object.
Okay? The dog plays with the ball. That is direct quote. Everybody good? That's direct quote. So in English, to make it an indirect statement, we just say, Ellie says, the dog plays with the ball. Right? Okay? So in English, it's just a matter of taking out punctuation. Right? But Latin doesn't have punctuation. So, whenever we're differentiating between Ellie says, the dog is wrong. I'm not making fun of your voice, I'm just.
Sound like that.
And then Ellie says the dog plays with the ball. Right? Okay? When we're differentiating that in Latin, they have to change the entire structure of the sentence. Okay? So the first one would be Ellie dicit canis pila ludit. Someone want to look up and make sure I'm using ball and not spear? Because there's one that means ball and there's one that means spear, and I can't remember.
Why not have the dog play with the spear?
That's what I'm doing.
It matters. I don't want you to be on the AP test going, wait, ball or spear?
Ball and spear.
Not spear, spear. Like the pointy thing that you throw at people to kill them.
Oh, yeah, no.
You got it right there.
It's pila? Yay! Okay, so pilum is spear and pila is ball. Okay? So-
Roman soldiers throwing balls at the end.
Okay, so the dog plays with the ball. Everyone okay with whenever you play with something, you play with it in the ablative? Yes? Okay? Yes? Ablative of instrument or means? Yes? Okay? So, canis, that's the direct quote. But when I'm putting it into Latin indirect quote, it becomes Ellie dicit canem pila ludera.
Ah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, my subject, the pen doesn't work! I'm sorry. I keep picking it up.
Whipple
The
says.
pen don't work!
The
You just keep
Whipple
that part.
says pen doesn't.
Right.
Let me give another example.
That was, yes, and then you can say the Whipple says the pen doesn't work. It's like playing telephone, sort of, okay? Alright, but anyways, so what happens is that subject becomes accusative and our verb becomes an infinitive. And the whole point is the Romans didn't have, in fact, it would look like this. I just showed you.
Oh, because no lowercase cap, just capital, no spaces.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what the direct statement looks like in Latin.
Do they have,
And then the indirect statement,
do they have periods?
no.
Oh my god.
Claudius came up with, Gimpius Claudius, we're pretty sure that he had cerebral palsy. Claudius means lame, and I call him Gimpius Claudius because I'm a terrible person, but you already know this about me. So, it helps me remember him, okay? So, Gimpius Claudius, sorry, it's basically like calling him Gimpy Gimp. So, Gimpius Claudius, he had this idea when he was emperor that maybe they should put dots between the words so you could at least tell where one word ended and another word began.
They started doing it, and as soon as he was out, they stopped.
That is correct.
I remember this.
Yes, that is correct. Okay, so but this is why they do it. Like for us, we're like, I don't understand. You just quotation marks or not quotation marks. No. It looks like that. So does everybody see how you can instantly see that I'm not saying that Ellie said this, like this is not, Ellie said this directly, like this is not a direct quote. This is what would be called in a court case hearsay. Yes? It kind of, it's not so unsure of a quote that we put it into the subjunctive, but it is unsure enough of a quote that we put it into indirect statements. Everybody with me? Does that help? Do you want more examples? Or is one enough?
Sound characters.
One is enough? Okay, I'm happy to give you more. I got lots more.
I don't think so.
No.
Yes. Okay, so, but that's what's going on here
This is
in
basic
41. Whenever we're looking at this part right here, omnem esse, I forgot to ask you guys if I'm anywhere close to your lines. Am I?
You're pretty.
I mean,
Livable?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Because it won't let me select the box.
yeah.
it's fine.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, so commemorant is what's triggering our indirect statement here. They recall, they remind, they mention. Yes? Okay? So they mention, and Caesar's wasn't there. So he can't do direct quotes. I mean, he can, and he does sometimes, but he wasn't there. Think about when he did do the direct quote. It was for the guy that got everybody to jump out of the boats and swim to Britain, right? Yes, the guy was like, "Come on, men, we're gonna do this for the gods," and that was a direct quote, right? Okay, this is not. He was not there. They're the enemies. He really doesn't care exactly what they said, but this is what was reported to him. So here we have our infinitive, and then our subject. So all Gaul is in arms. And this one, so this is the hardest part about indirect statement. There's no like secondary accusative, so you can have an accusative subject and an accusative direct object. The good news is it's usually pretty straightforward which one is the subject and which one is the direct object. For instance, who is crossing, the Rhine or the Germans?
The Germans.
Oh, the Germans.
Clearly the Rhine had crossed the Germans. Yes? Okay, no, I'm kidding.
That makes it
Logical sense. Yes, because cross in this instance.
Right?
The Germans are crossed.
Right? So if I had my pen, I would be marking all over them. I think I can still do it. So this is our infinitive that we treat like a main verb, and then this is our accusative subject.
It could be the line of cheese will go over Germany.
No. This is not Germany. This is the Germans,
Yeah.
like the people.
Well, they could be going over.
I told you guys that like the zombie show on Sifi It's called Z Nation, right? The first season is really good because the problem that most zombie shows have is they take themselves way too seriously. But the first episode of Z Nation, they kill a bunch of zombies with the Liberty Bell. Like the Liberty Bell goes, they were like someone was trying to get the Liberty Bell out of wherever it is. I've been there. Philadelphia. They were trying, yeah. So it was like strapped to the back of a truck, and it was like the only truck that was working. So the people that are running away and not zombies yet get in it, and they're like running away, and they turn a corner too sharp, and it's like a giant flatbed truck, and the Liberty Bell goes rolling off, and it just bowls over. And bowl is the appropriate verb here. Bowls over a bunch of zombies, and all that's left is like their feet. Like I said, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It was pretty entertaining. I kind of lost interest later on. But anyways, the first season was good. So the point is, the Germans are accusative subject here. Okay? And then this one, I'm using Fast Talker's shorthand here. This is our direct object. And this would be the verb and then the direct statement. And we treat it like a regular verb. So the Germans have crossed the Rhine. Okay? And our main verb this time that triggered the indirect statement is, this is worse than finger painting. Okay, commemorant, which is present tense. Yes? Okay? So that's present tense. So that means that our infinitive present tense is going to be translated in present tense, and our perfect infinitive is going to be translated as perfect, and our future infinitive will be translated as will. Yes? Okay, so that's the biggest thing about indirect statement, is knowing when to leave it and when to downshift to all of a sudden the present is was and the perfect is had and the future is would. Did I just confuse you after I had you all unconfused? So Ellie said the dog played with a ball, right? Okay, so if we go back to that, I'll just show you what I'm saying. Okay, so Ellie says the dog plays with a ball. Now, if I said instead, Ellie Dixit, which is past tense, okay, Kanem Pila Ludera, the sentence doesn't change other than Dixit, but all of a sudden, instead of Ellie says the dog plays with the ball, it becomes Ellie has said the dog was playing with a ball. Yes, because my main verb is perfect. And the way it works is the present tense, hang on, I need Java touch. Yes, Java touch. So the present tense lines up with whatever your main verb is. So in this case, in that second sentence, the main verb is perfect. So you're going to translate your present, but it's unfinished, right? So now, all of a sudden, your present is was. Your future, which is now happening kind of maybe at the same time as the present tense of a regular verb, you're going to translate the future as would. And the perfect is now past, which means you're going to translate that as had. And it's all because you shift your infinitives to wherever your main verb is. And then the whole thing slides down with it. When I used to teach with a projector, I would have two transparencies, and I would have the one transparency and then I would drag it. And sometimes I can do that on here, but we don't have that much time. Okay? Everybody with me? I have a worksheet that I will get to that we will work through. Remind me tomorrow. Okay? And it's this exact thing. Like, do you understand what happens whenever we use different tenses of the main verb? Do you understand what happens to how we translate the infinitive? Okay? So I will get that to you tomorrow. It is a MOG created worksheet, which means you know it's clear. Okay, and then the last one, this is really interesting because this is passive, right? Opugnari. But this is still your accusative subject. So we have the winter camps of the rest of Caesar. I'm not quite sure how that fits in there grammatically, but it does. are being attacked. So the camps of the rest of Caesar, I don't even know. It should be like Reliquois that they're not, I would think. But, you know, I'm not Caesar, so whatever. Is there a footnote? Nope. Yeah, 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 I don't know. No, don't put on there. Okay. Adjunt etiam de morte, de Sabini morte. They add even about the death of Sabinus. And then they show that Ambiorix, we're kind of missing a fuisse here, or an essay. They show that Ambiorix was the cause of making their faith, like making their trust, is kind of what's going on there. Faciendae fidei. Fidei faciendae causat. Perry has a note. The fact that Ambiorix is present in their camp shows that they are telling the truth. Okay? Is there anything else that he skipped? I'm trying to make sure I hit all the things that he skipped. Okay, so we talked about this the other day. We see causa. What do we look for with causa? Genitive. Very good. So where's my genitive that goes with causa? We actually have fidei faciendae, and I think what's happening here is purpose with causa. Let me check Hans. I'm tired and I'm doubting myself. And then my husband, who's supposed to be like, no, honey, you don't have dementia, is like, oh yeah, I'm worried about your brain. I'm like, what?
Very assuring.
It is. It is a gerundive with causa to express purpose. That says purpose. Okay? Thank you, Hayden. Thank you. I'm sorry, my pen's not working.
It says purpose.
Okay, and then here's another indirect statement. They say, everybody here, they say that? Yes? So you know it's indirect statement, again. So we're looking for two things. What two things are we looking for? Accusative and an infinitive. Okay? Anytime you see an infinitive, your brain should be going, why is there an infinitive? Like, what triggered the infinitive? This time, it was decunt. Okay? So decunt triggered this phrase. It's just kind of strange because he puts it after, but, you know, he doesn't know English, so it's okay. So they say that they are wrong. And then Sparrow should also take a indirect statement. Why is it not? I haven't had to use the Genie translation even once, but we're going to do it now because my head hurts. Oh, they say, and this is important to know, that this they equals the Romans. Because if they meant they themselves, the Nervii, were wrong, what would they use? Do you guys remember what they would use if they were saying they themselves were wrong? They would use say. Okay? But it's not say, it's eos. So Romans don't really have vague pronoun references because they have so many different sets of pronouns that they use at specific times. Right? Okay? They have eius, meaning his, and then they have suos, meaning his, that guy that I'm talking about before, that's his. right? And they have they, meaning not the people that are speaking. And they have they, meaning the people that are speaking. So that would be say would be the people that are speaking. So they would be the people who are not speaking, so that would be the Romans. Are we okay? Lots of pieces to pull together? Just Tuesday, longest week ever. It's been the longest year ever. It's only,
Already.
it's only January 14th.
No.
Literally day 14. This is the longest year ever. I feel like
2 weeks.
I thought I meant school year. And I was like, no, just year. Of course.
no year, just this year, 2020 is already.
On January 1st, midnight. This has been the longest year ever.
Okay.
Too much has happened.
A blizzard is gonna come and fulfill your
Already.
I only
prophecy.
have 300.
Okay, so the year that Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein was the year with no summer, because there was some weird astrological, like, what's the word?
It's only.
What's the word with the people with the thing and it goes above this earth and it protects the sky? Atmospheric. Some
Yeah.
weird atmospheric, maybe possibly astrological, could have been a volcano, like wrapped the whole world in something that made it so there was no summer and they had a blizzard in June. Yeah, so 1816, the year that it was like Frankenstein was published that year, and also like, it wasn't Dracula, but it was like the precursor to Dracula. That was published in 1816, and it was the year with no summer. Coincidence? I think not. Sorry, really, really tired. Okay, so they say that the Romans are mistaken if they hope for any protection from them, right, from those. Hang on. If they hope for any protection from those who despair of their own situations. However, they say that they are of this mind towards Cicero and the Roman people, that they reject nothing except the winter quarters and do not wish that this custom of wintering in Gaul become established. As far as they, the Nervii, are concerned, it is permitted for them to go away safely from the winter quarters and set out without fear into whatever parts they wish. Cicero replied only one thing to these words, that it was not the custom of the Roman people to accept terms from an armed enemy. If they wished to put down their arms, they should use him as a helper and send ambassadors to Caesar. He hopes that they will obtain what they ask for because of his fairness, meaning Caesar's sense of fairness. Okay. I feel like I'm running out of time without looking at the time. Yes, I am. Okay, so let's just kind of break that down. Let's talk about the Gauls having a problem with the Romans wintering in Gaul. Why do they have a problem with the Gauls wintering in Gaul? What's happening this year that makes this year different from any other year?